Today, we're going to be talking about Robert Greene's idea of mastering yourself in order to operate at your highest potential. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for taking a moment to check out this video. Before we get started, I want you to please support this channel. We are participating in an experiment to see if we can grow this channel to 1 million subscribers in just 1 year. And in order for you to participate in this journey, we just ask that you like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to make sure you are up to date with every video that we'll be posting on this channel every single day. We want to show YouTube that we're able to create content that will help people think about their faith. And we want you to be a part of this community that will engage in healthy conversation and dialogue as we discuss complex ideas that are permeating our world. So please take a moment to support by subscribing and making sure you hit that notification bell. Now, today we're going to be talking about Robert Greene and all of his ideas that formulate this notion that one should master themselves. And this is interesting. As you all know, we have made a couple of videos on Robert Greene and his ideas. And the reason we are so fascinated by Robert Greene is because he seems to be the best at articulating the common ideas that have developed as a result of several different schools of thought. You have on one side Stoicism, you have on another side Nietzsche. You have all these different ideas that somehow or another help us as individuals in the modern world think about the way we should first view the world, and then secondly, how we should exist in the world. The thing that's so compelling about Robert Greene as a Christian is the fact that he is right in his assessment of humanity. He seems to nail it every single time, which is so interesting to me because I don't hear him talk a lot about Jesus. The thing that's interesting is I can tell in his speech and his assessment of what humans are like that he has indeed considered what humans are from a perspective that Jesus has declared, the Christian perspective. So when Robert Greene starts to talk about this ideal of a dark side, this fact that we as human beings are dark people in nature, he gets it right. We actually find in the Bible when Jeremiah was talking about the nation of Israel during their time of rebellion, he made a very broad statement about humanity. He states that the heart is desperately wicked. Who can know it? This seems to be right in line with what Robert Greene is stating about humanity and why he feels we should operate the way we operate. The idea that we are dark, we have this selfish desire, we have something going on inside of us that is not right, it's not good, but that's just the way it is. And so we should use that in a way as a means of forwarding our cause and operating in a way that leads us to be successful. In one interview, he stated that we have this sense of healthy narcissism. And he has this idea that we can use the best parts of ourselves in order to produce good. This is where, as a Christian, I kind of get a little bit uncomfortable because the idea that we can use darkness to create good, or that we should in any way cultivate that dark side of ourselves in order to ultimately accomplish some sort of good, seems to be antithetical to everything I read about how Jesus lived and the things he actually taught. Robert Greene wrote in Mastery, he stated the most effective attitude to adopt is one of supreme acceptance. Now, this is an interesting idea because Robert Greene has this idea or this opinion of false morality. You know, we should get over ourselves. We should stop acting as if we're really moral creatures. And so when he talks about the idea of accepting oneself, what he's essentially stating is we should accept that we are dark people, that we do have bad things about ourselves. Get over it and let's just go on with what we should be doing. He continues, the world is full of people with different characters and temperaments. We all have a dark side, a tendency to manipulate, and aggressive desires. The most dangerous types are those who repress their desires or deny the existence of them, often acting them out in the most underhanded ways. Some people have dark qualities that are especially pronounced. You cannot change such people at their core, but must merely avoid being their victim. You are an observer of the human comedy. And by being as tolerant as possible, you gain a much greater ability to understand people and to influence their behavior when necessary. You see, this is interesting because it's as if we're all these actors on a stage and we're competing for what we want the most. And we're trying to figure out how can we, by any means necessary, get what we want by overthrowing, overpowering the next person in order to accomplish our own individual goals. The core of this sort of thinking, it actually refutes what the world should be. And more importantly, as Christians, it refutes how we should live in community as brothers and sisters in God's family. If we were to ask Jesus, how should we live in a world that's full of darkness, and how should we handle the darkness that is within? Jesus would say, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you will have the light that leads to life. Now, here's the interesting thing about what Jesus is saying here. Darkness is fueled by information, theories, ideas, philosophies, much like the ones we're reading in Robert Greene, or we may read in some other philosophy or school of thought. It is the fact that we have information that is constantly fueling the darkness that is within. But once we become exposed to Jesus Christ, who is the light, then we understand how to first overcome our darkness, and then secondly, live as people of light. You see, the idea that we should continue in our darkness because that's just who we are is something that we cannot accept as Christians, because Jesus teaches us that his very presence, his very coming, his very ministry of truth is the thing that comes to overpower darkness and shed abroad in our hearts the light that is needed to walk in correspondence to the light that he is in the world. Secondly, the idea of overcoming the world through darkness and using darkness as a means of competing with other dark souls and those who have the same manipulative ideas and ambitions as the next person. This is an issue because it actually doesn't allow us to form the community that is based on love, that Jesus is a champion of. You see, in Jesus's ministry, he is teaching very emphatically that love for God and then love for each other is the optimal way, is actually the very way to live in this world. So on one hand, Robert Greene says use darkness, do everything you can to use that darkness that is inside of you in order to operate at your highest potential. But Jesus says, no, overcome darkness, live in light, and live in love. You see, it's interesting that if we feel we're going to adopt Robert Greene's idea while also accepting an idea or a premise that we can live in love, the two don't match, because you cannot use your darkness to create or live in love. It doesn't match. You cannot have this element of you that is manipulative and it is in some way a strategist of darkness, and then at the same time say, I want to be a person of love. The two don't mix. And that's, in my opinion, where Robert Greene's idea, it falls apart, because we cannot have darkness and love. Imagine being in a relationship where you're thinking through these ideas of how you could love a person, but in the back of your mind, you're using ideas of manipulation and darkness, and you're actually encouraging this kind of darkness in your relationship in order to seduce another person or gain a sort of relationship that will lead to some meaningful purpose in the world. It's impossible. And it is the same in the broader world. We cannot manipulate each other and then love each other in the same time. In fact, it is evident in the world that we have not really learned how to love each other as Jesus has demonstrated, because we are so used to manipulating and using darkness because that's the natural thing to do in order to get what we want in life. At the heart of Robert Greene's idea of mastering yourself is the inability to really love as Jesus has commanded us to love. If we want to be followers of Jesus Christ, it means we must love in the purest way possible. It means we must love God purely, and we must love each other as authentically as possible. In order to do this, we must allow the information that we're taking in to cultivate a nature of moral excellence, if you will, a nature of love. And to the idea that we are falsifying our morality, I have to simply say that a person that is in Christ is undergoing the process of being transformed into his image day by day. So as time goes on, as we participate in this relationship with Jesus Christ, we find ourselves becoming more and more like him because of our willingness to be changed from the dark human beings we are to the people of light that he's called us to be. This is the goal. This is the purpose of life, if you will, as a Christian. And I want to invite you to be a part of that goal. I want you to accept today that you will live in light and no longer live in darkness. Well, friends, this is the end of our video. We have so much more content to give you and share with you. Please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and make sure you keep up to date with all of the latest videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. God bless.